Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to XTalknIsh with your boy X. Unfortunately, no Ish this morning, but it's all good. We're gonna get through this week 14 pregame show. As always, if you're on Facebook, please make sure you like and share this broadcast. If you are on our Facebook page, go ahead and hit that like button. As well, if you are on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you can be notified for shows like this one in the future. And as well, if you are on the Twitter, go ahead and check us out on X Talking Ish, and as well my personal page at X_Williams81. I went ahead and retweeted it, so you can go ahead and check us out on all streaming media platforms. Thank y'all once again for joining the pregame show. Again, this is week 14, and the season is just a month away from being over. It is almost over with, regular season wise, at least. Will be over with just a month from now, meaning that we're in real football season now. This is where the games actually mean a lot. I'm sorry, even more than ever before. This sport is the only sport in North American sports where regular season actually matters, and that is all shade to all sports. Football is not included, of course, when it comes to baseball. Let's be honest, too many regular season games, and you can get on a slump and still find a way to make it to the playoffs. Basketball, the regular season was so bad you had to create a regular season tournament, as we saw just last night with the Lakers winning the in-season tournament. And nobody really pays attention to NBA regular season until after All Star break. When it comes to the NFL, every week matters. No matter if it's week 1 or week 18, every week matters because you don't want to get to this point in week 14 where you're looking back at the regular season and wishing that you could have won a game or two that you probably should not have lost early in the season. So, with that being said, we are back once again. Let's go ahead and get right into the first game here. We have the Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. If I'm being honest with you, with these two teams in this division, it's very difficult to try to figure out week by week who wants to win a game because most of the time it seems as though that some of these teams just don't want to win the game and they want to hand it off to the team that they're playing against. So for this game, I really don't want to spend too much time hyping this game up. Besides, of course, obviously, Bijan Robinson playing for the Atlanta Falcons, doing what he's doing in his rookie season. And I will also give a shout out to Baker Mayfield doing what he's able to do this season and find a way to um, get this Buccaneers team just playing at a decent level. I feel like they were doing that in the beginning of the season, playing really well. Kind of tailed off a little bit, but they are where they are now. Let me double check their record for the Buccaneers. They are 5-7. The Falcons are 6-6. This is a home game for the Falcons with Desmond Ritter. Desmond Ritter, more times than not, usually wins home games, but I think this might be one of those sneaky divisional games where the Buccaneers will find a way to win a very, very close game against the Falcons. Unfortunately for the Falcons, it seems like the way they're finishing off this season has just not been ideal. The Buccaneers, I think they're going to find a way to come on strong at the second half of the season. And for me, and honest with you, watch out for the Buccaneers. Wouldn't surprise me at all. They find a way to steal this playoff spot from everybody in the NFC South. So who knows? Maybe what's his face? Baker Mayfield has a little bit of juice left in him to get this team to the postseason. Let's go ahead and move on to the Colts and the Bengals. Very interesting matchup. Besides, of course, being backup versus backup, I think this is going to be one of the better backup quarterback duels that we're going to have today. If you watched the game last week with Jake Browning uh, and the Bengals, they actually played pretty well with their backup quarterback. A lot of short passes, a lot of passes that wasn't really going too far past the line of scrimmage, but it was effective and he got the job done. With the Colts, a little bit different. Gardner Minshew plays like a wild man. He plays, as they would say, a gunslinger, kind of similar to Brett Favre. to where he just literally let his hair down, go out there slaying the ball. I think it's gonna whatever happens, we let it happen, either a touchdown or an interception, and you move on with the next play, which I do respect. I understand the mindset. I'm not mad at the mindset. Just sometimes some of these heir apparent throws that we've seen with Gardner Minshew can make the game a little bit harder than it needs to be. Again, we've seen Gardner Minshew come out and play well and perform at a level to where you might think that he is a starter, which granted he has been a starter before. But once he starts getting a little erratic and starts just heaving the ball up because he feels like he has to make a play, then here comes the interceptions. Here comes the forced throws, and it's the reason why he's a backup before Anthony Richardson got hurt. So again, it's no shade to Gardner Minshew and the Colts at all because I'm picking the Colts to win this game. Um, I'm just worried more for Gardner Minshew when it comes to will Gardner Minshew find a way to literally throw the game away for the Colts when they are, let's just say, down by 4 with 3.5 minutes left to go in this game. That's what I'm more worried and concerned about. But I think the Colts find a way to come into Cincinnati without, of course, Joe Burrow being there and still a game from Cincinnati. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Jaguars and the Browns game. Not a sexy game, again, especially with Joe Flacco being the now starting quarterback for the Browns. If I am a betting guy on this game in particular, I would look at the ground game for both of these teams. Yes, even though last week Joe Flacco's first game, they aired it out a lot. I want to say they threw the ball 37 times. I don't really expect that to be a consistent thing for the Browns and Joe Flacco, just because I feel like they want to stick to their identity, which is running the ball. And then obviously also with Trevor Lawrence last week, he got stepped on and his ankle kind of rolled to where even though he is planning to play and to start this game, I expect there to be a lot more running of the ball with Travis Etienne Jr. than throwing the ball with Trevor Lawrence all over the field. Um, I just also think because of the type of team that you're going to play with that Browns defense, it's very treacherous. You do not want to get Trevor Lawrence in harm's way. Let him get the ball out of his hand quickly. Let him get the ball to Travis Etienne. Let them make plays. There should be no reason why Trevor Lawrence has to unfortunately take unnecessary hits in the pocket. That's what I'm more concerned about, in the pocket. Once he's out of the pocket, hey, all bets are off. It's on him now from there. But for Trevor Lawrence, if he's in the pocket and he's upright, the Jaguars have an opportunity to steal this game. But because of the injury to Trevor Lawrence last week, I'm worried about his mobility and I'm worried about if he's going to be a little hesitant to be able to plant his foot in that pocket to be able to make sound throws. I'm hoping that he doesn't make a couple of over a wide receiver's head type of throws. I'm expecting at least one or two of those balls to happen. So again, wouldn't surprise me at all if Jacksonville Jaguars have the offense and the team in general to be able to win this game in Cleveland. I just think with the injury for Trevor Lawrence, that's going to limit this team as a whole. I think the Browns take care of business in Cleveland. And Jacksonville need to watch out because you have this team here, the Houston Texans, creeping up and trying to steal this division away from everybody in the AFC South. They do go into New York and take on the Jets. The interesting thing about this game is that I'm getting a lot of word about the weather from yesterday. Again, if you are on the betting sector of things like I am, I look at the game a little bit differently when it comes to how I'm going about picking my teams and players and things of that nature. The weather was supposed to be a factor. I looked at the weather last night for today. When this game starts, it's supposed to be around 13 mile per hour wind gusts, only about 9 mile per hour winds, which really isn't too bad. So I'm not too concerned with the passing game. I see a lot of sports books or not the sports book, I'm sorry, a lot of people that are looking at Nico Collins' receiving yards to kind of go under, but without Tank Dell and depending on Noah Brown's status, um, that's pretty much his main target now. Obviously, depending on who's going to be guarding him, like Sauce Gardner, that could be a line that you might want to look into because, yeah, if CJ isn't able to get the ball to Nico Collins, and everybody else is going to have to be the recipient of the ball because he can't get the ball to either Tank or Nico Collins. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. I expect the Texans to go into New York and at least put up maybe 2 touchdowns because with the Jets, they can't even score one. You put up 2 touchdowns, you should win that game. I had the Texans winning this game on the road. And at the moment, Zach Wilson is starting only because he has to, not because he wants to. He might say the right things in the media and might act like he cares about, starting for the team, but I have no problem saying from the beginning of the season to where we are right now that I am wrong. I was wrong about Zach Wilson. I was very on board with um, Aaron Rodgers coming to New York to help mentor Zach Wilson, to help be that guy, to help Zach Wilson get better. And I'm not talking about with the mechanics and showing you how to be a great quarterback. I'm just talking about being a presence within the locker room for Zach Wilson to follow and to see how greatness goes about their life on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's something that Zach was missing when he first stepped onto the scene with the Jets. He didn't have that big brother type to look up to see how to become a professional, because that is a real thing. You talk to anybody that are professional players, and I'll just use my cousin as an example. When he played for the New England Patriots his rookie year, he stated time and time again that the guys that were in the locker room helped him become a professional athlete. And you need that no matter what position that you're playing. You need, especially as a quarterback, you're trying to be the franchise guy. If the franchise doesn't have a veteran quarterback that has been there before, as in get you through these treacherous times, like Joe Flacco honestly would have been a great fit for um, Zach Wilson, but we're here nor there. But I just see more regression from Zach Wilson. I don't see any hope from Zach Wilson that I can hang my hat on and say, yeah, this guy is going to take you to the next level. So with that being said, you can see it with CJ Stroud. You can see the elite talent. You can see the decision making. You can see the confidence. You can see just the poise. You can see everything within CJ Stroud that you don't see coming from Zach Wilson. And it's pretty obvious, to see is one of those things where you can deny all you want to, but at the end of the day, proof is in the pudding. So I'll just leave it at that. Shout out to my big brother X, and I talked about big brother, little brother. That's my big little brother right there. He says, "Good morning, brother. Coffee and XTalknIsh is all I need on Sunday mornings." I appreciate you very much so. But if I were you, I'll go ahead and get you some food. I know you D linemen out there don't be out there just drinking some coffee. So go ahead and get you some eggs and some toast, some sausages and whatnot, because better believe I will be eating after this show as well. So let's go ahead and move on to the Rams and the Ravens. Speaking of eating, pretty sure this Ravens team will be eating on the ground, because I know that's when my boy X came for the show to talk about the Ravens. So here we are. Now, before we do get into this topic, though, I'm not gonna lie. I did look at this game and I said to myself, could the Rams really pull off the upset? Could they travel from the West Coast to the East Coast and put on a classic Matt Stafford performance, and Puka could route up these guys, and Cooper Kupp could route up these DBs, and they're gonna turn back the hands of time for the LA Rams? Don't keep it short and sweet. I just don't see it. At least just not for this game. I just don't. I just don't know what we're getting from the Rams on a week-to-week basis. Yes, they are playing a lot better in the middle of the season right now, but they are 6-6, and for being honest with you, that's how they've been playing all season long, like a 500 team. because they've been up and down for the most part. So for the Ravens, I look at this game as a taking care of business type of game. You're 9-3. You are at home. You're at the bank, as they like to call it, and I expect another MVP type of performance from Lamar Jackson. Now, obviously, Lamar Jackson is missing one of his main weapons with Mark Andrews, and I'm pretty sure Ravens fans will not use that as an excuse, and I'm not going to use that as an excuse for Lamar, because, like I've stated, this is December football. This is December going into January football, where the excuses and all that stuff like that goes out of the window. I'm pretty sure on every sports broadcast we'll see in the next 12 hours or so, they're going to show numbers of Lamar Jackson playing in December and January, and Brock Purdy playing in December, and Dak Prescott playing in December, Patrick Mahomes playing in December as well. You're going to see all these stats. But at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to, can you get that W this late in the season when things really matter? I think Lamar can do that and will do that for the Ravens. My question for the Ravens, though, is how fast can you get Mark Andrews back into the starting lineup? No matter how you want to sugarcoat things, the Ravens will need Mark Andrews, my apologies, to be considered a Super Bowl threat this upcoming season. Because if you take Mark Andrews off of that team, yes, you still have Odell. Yes, you still have Bateman. Yes, you still have Zay Flowers. Yes, I understand all that. But any Ravens fan can tell you that they are not the same offense without Mark Andrews. So if you can get Mark Andrews back before the postseason starts, or if you can get that bye week, I think that is very crucial at this point in time for the Ravens. If you can find a way to get the number one seed going to the playoffs, get another week of rest, Mark Andrews can join the crew going into the postseason. I think all bets are off when it comes to, hey, maybe you got something for the Ravens moving forward, and maybe you find a way to capitalize on this season and this run to make the naysayers eat their words, especially with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens crew. Big X says, yes, we need Mandrews, as he calls him, not Andrews, because he's a grown man, as you can see. All right. With that being said, like I said, I'm not a Ravens hater. I'm just a Ravens truther. Sometimes you might not like what I say, but I'm always going to tell the truth about all the football, baby. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Lions and the Bears. Lions, Tigers, and Bears. You already know, oh my, and no surprise here by the pick here that I have for the Lions. Now, I really was going back and forth on this one as well, too, because I really wanted to pick the Bears. They're at home. Justin Fields maybe can, be revitalized out here in the Chicago waters and Chicago winds. And speaking of winds and whatnot and weather, I'm pretty sure Chicago might have a couple of winds going on, but let's see. Game time weather feels at the moment about 34 degrees. And if you've been to Chicago, you know how that feels. And let's see. I want to see what the weather looking like for today at 12 o'clock. We have about wind gust of 22, wind of 14. So this weather here in Chicago is going to be a little bit more of a concern to look for the passing game, more so than the game for the Houston Texans and the New York Jets. That being said, it seems as though that we might be keeping this ball on the ground a lot more often. So the Lions, can you release the two-headed back with Montgomery and Gibbs and allow them to eat today? I think that they will. I think that they should do that. Should and will are two different things, of course, but for the Lions, I'm expecting for them to have a great game plan going into this game. This is a divisional rival team. It's not like you don't know who the Bears are. It's not like you don't know where they play. So I'm expecting for them to have a pretty decent game plan. I also need to look into, hey, if that win is going to be the way that it is for Justin Fields, then maybe I need to look into his rushing yardage, and maybe I need to go ahead and just hit the over for that one, because he might be rushing for over 64.5 yards, which is his line at the moment for rushing. And he definitely might get 100 yards rushing if the win is going to be the way that it is. If you don't have a tight spirally type of ball, quarterbacks are nervous and they're scared to throw balls into the wind. If you don't believe me, I promise you, you can either ask your local quarterback down the street from your house, or you can just witness on TV. We're going to see some guys throw some ducks, and then later on in the game, they're going to be a little too concerned about wanting to throw that same ball because they either don't want it to be picked, or they just don't want to have a duck out here being flown into the air. So that game could be definitely a game to watch out for rushing yardage for both teams. Panthers and Saints. Woo, two teams very underwhelming this season. Really don't want to spend too much time on this game because let's just be honest. I don't think anybody really wants to. Even if you are a Saints fan, I don't think you really want to even talk about this game. So with that being said, and there's no hard feelings when I say this, because I don't think the Saints really deserve to have me pick them to win any more games this upcoming season. I don't care if it's against the Florida State Seminoles, who feel some type of way about getting left out of the playoffs. I think even though they pissed off and they don't have their starting quarterback, they'll find a way to beat the Saints just because of how inconsistent and shitty of play calling that has been going on in that organization this season. From if I recall, yes, I thought the Saints were 6-6. No, they're actually 5-7, which is just at this moment. Still have an opportunity to win the division. The division is not out of its way, but I think the Panthers are going to do what they did to the Houston Texans earlier this season. They got their first win against the Houston Texans, which looking back on the Houston Texans, they probably might look back on that game and say, man, that might be the game that might cost us the division or maybe even a wild card spot. And I think the Panthers find a way to spoil the parade for the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. I think they find a way to win this game, even though they should not, and they don't have the amount of talent to beat the Saints, and they shouldn't win this game at all. I think sometimes when you are on the road as a team and you're playing with your back against the wall and it's us against the world, you find ways to win a game that you're not supposed to. And I think this could be the game that happens now for the Saints. Again, if they decide to win it all, win this game and blow them out that by 30, nobody's gonna be surprised, right? Because it's the Panthers and the Panthers suck. But I think the Panthers find a way to keep this close. The Saints offense has just not been what I have wanted it to be, especially with the addition of Jamal Williams coming back to New Orleans from Detroit. And again, that can easily be talked about for Dennis Allen when it comes to the type of offensive scheme that he's allowing the OC to put out there. There's a lot of questions in New Orleans right now, and I'm not the one to answer them. I'm just somebody that's here reporting and talking about what's going on about the Saints, but there are a lot of questions that need to be answered in the offseason, mainly with the quarterback position. Yes, they have Derek Carr, but just doesn't seem like fan bases are too happy with Derek Carr's performance at the moment. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Some players aren't too happy with the performance at all as well, too. So, again, it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I like chaos a little bit. Not all the time, but just a little bit. And if the Saints were to lose this game, I could definitely see some chaos going on in New Orleans, and we'll see how they played it out there. Big X says, do you have any Super Bowl predictions? Great question. I won't beat around the bush. So a lot of times I like to say, let's wait and see, right? So I'm not going to do that this time. In the NFC, it really comes down to three teams. I can't add the Lions in there just yet. It's really the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. If we're talking about right now, what we just seen recently and this, that, and the third, if I'm picking a team from the NFC, I got to go with the 49ers. Just complete team. I got to go with the 49ers at this moment. On the AFC side, and I really think that my boy Big X asked me this question because he really wants me to say Baltimore, which is understandable because if we're being honest, Baltimore, both sides of the ball, I mean, it's a damn good team, especially the defense. The defense, as always, wins championships, and that Baltimore defense looks like a championship-ready type of defense. Miami, I I just can't. I can't put too much stock on them just right now just yet because of no postseason success so far. Regular season, they go up and down, they put up numbers, and they get into the postseason, they just shell up. So I can't do it just yet. Will Kansas City find a way to be the boogeyman for the Ravens? That's what I really think is the only holdup for Baltimore getting to the Super Bowl would be Kansas City. Will Baltimore find a way to bite the heels of the Ravens once again and not allow the Ravens to get to the Super Bowl? I have to agree with Coach Tito what he says with this comment. I mean, as Ric Flair says all the time, to be the man, you have to beat the man. And until somebody from the AFC beats up Kansas City like the Cincinnati Bengals did just a couple years ago, I have to pick Kansas City until somebody else tells me otherwise or show me otherwise. Especially with all the Taylor Swift shenanigans they got going on in Kansas City, everybody else has to prove otherwise. I do like what the Ravens have. I do like what the Ravens are building and moving and trending upwards to right now. But like Coach T talked about, I got to see somebody else beat Kansas City, and then we can go. And I ain't talking about the regular season either. We ain't talking about the regular season. We're talking about the postseason, obviously. And then we can go from there. Right now, though, I'll go 49ers Kansas City rematch Super Bowl once again with that one. It could be Kansas City St. Kansas. I'm sorry. It could be 49ers Ravens Super Bowl rematch when it comes to the Beyonce light show going out in that one. So it could be another rematch of that. Hopefully, New Orleans pays Vegas this year. Vegas pays their light bill, which I'm pretty sure they do, and don't have to worry about that this year. All right, Vikings and Raiders. Again, another game with battle of the backups. You have Mr. Joshua Dobbs and, of course, Aiden O'Connell on the Raiders end. This game, though, for the most part, really doesn't seem too sexy, especially the way that Josh Dobbs has kind of been coming back to normal after his heroic performance. It seemed like just a couple weeks ago, but it really was about a month ago now. And the thing about, and I tried to explain this to people, but nobody really cares because everybody just likes seeing, highlights and clips and things of that nature. But usually with guys that are not able to see the field a lot, either rookies or guys that just don't get in a lot, you don't have too much film on them, right? So some guys can light up a scoreboard. Some guys can run for 200 yards all of a sudden because, we wasn't expecting for him to be this fast or this physical or, whatever the reason why, or a linebacker to get 12, 13, 14 tackles out of nowhere. And then 4 weeks later, they came by a tackle, right? I'm not somebody that's going to buy off of the hype, either one game, one season, or a stretch. They have to do this day in and day out. And I like Josh Dobbs. I have no problem with Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs is a very serviceable quarterback. I've said this from day one. But it's a reason why he's a backup quarterback. It's a reason why he's been on team after team after team. He's a good quarterback, but he'll find a way to show you why his ass is a backup quarterback. So with that being said, same thing with Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell, rookie, a guy that hasn't really seen the field that much. Wasn't expected to really see the field that much, depending on who you are on the Jimmy G scale of things, because if anybody that knows Jimmy G, we know sooner or later he's going to get hurt. So I'm pretty sure Aiden O'Connell had in the back of his mind knowing that, hey, sooner or later I'm going to be up. And he's up, and I think he's been playing okay. Nothing great, nothing horrible for the Raiders, because at the end of the day, it's the Raiders, and you only get so much out of these two. But I don't really know what the Raiders are wanting to do moving forward when it comes to this team and just this makeup of this team. Again, yes, I know Aiden O'Connell is a rookie. He probably will be with the Raiders for at least 2 more years, maybe that fifth, or because of obviously that 5th-year option. But I just don't know the direction of this Raiders team and this organization and what they're wanting to do. Right? There are some talks about Mark Davis might be wanting John Gruden back once again. And again, I don't care too much for John Gruden. I think he's an okay person. I don't have no ill will feelings towards John Gruden. But if you're the Raiders and you just went through all this stuff, why would you want to go back to what you're trying to get away from? Like I really don't understand it. I don't get it. It probably is the reason why it's called the black hole in Vegas, Oakland, LA, the Raider Nation. That whole area probably is a black hole because of they just don't know what to do on their end as well within that organization ever since Mark Davis has taken over. Yes, I am picking the Raiders to win this game. Even after talking all that silliness about the Raiders, I'm picking them mainly for the Vikings. I just think that the Cinderella story is coming to an end for Josh Dobbs and this Vikings team. Um, they have, of course, a lot of questions to address as well, too, mainly with Kirk Cousins to see if they bring him back or they move on. But I think the Joshua Dobbs magic, unfortunately, is over with. Um, it's time for everybody else to move on when it comes to Minnesota and move on from the Cinderella story that we call Josh Dobbs. Shout out to Fraction One. He says, I'm late, but I'm here. He said, did you enjoy the 30 for 30 on the 97 Heiser race? I sure did. And how about them Lakers? Unfortunately, I got 2 kids, Fractured Walnut, and it's holiday season, so I haven't watched any 30 for 30. I haven't watched the 30 for 30 in probably months. So I'm sorry, guys. I'll find a way to get back on it. I got 2 kids, so I'll leave it at that. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Seahawks and the 49ers. Another West Coast division matchup. Not going to spend too much time on this. 49ers are a 13.5-point favorite at home. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't expect the Seahawks to get drove and get drugged like the 49ers did against the Philadelphia Eagles last week. I don't expect that to happen. But now that I think about it, now I talk myself into this, last time I checked, the Eagles are a better team than the Seahawks. And 49ers did this on the road. But again, Eagles played 3 games in 13 days. 49ers are on 10 days of rest. 49ers come back home. Do they take this game as we beat the mess out of the Eagles? We're about to beat this team too. We kind of overlooked them, and then all of a sudden they end up making this game a lot closer than it needs to, especially a divisional game. Like I can see that all playing out as well too. I expect the 49ers to win this game, but wouldn't surprise me at all if the Seahawks find a way to make sure that they keep this game within 13.5 points. Because obviously with Pete Carroll and his magic, as long as you run the ball, Pete, you should be fine. But also with the way that Geno has been playing the last couple of weeks, this really could get ugly real soon if Geno is not protecting the ball. If they don't protect the ball and they don't take care of business, this really could get ugly for the Seattle Seahawks. This could be 31-0 first half type stuff, 42-0 overall game score for the 49ers Seahawks if they don't do their part, which is just play sound football. Protect the football, run the football, make sound throws. The Seahawks have an opportunity to maybe be in this game. Other than that, you got to create turnovers. You got to hope the 49ers give you a couple gimmies and hope for the best. But for right now, 49ers are just firing off all cylinders. They should win this game, and we'll see how this all plays out. Coach T says Eagles were outplayed and outcoached. Almost any team would have beat us last week. Fracture One says Seahawks cover the spread. Sorry, don't do that. Wait, what? You hit me with the double negatives there. Sorry, I can't do that, people. I think he's saying, Just kidding. I can't do that. I can't let the Seahawks cover the spread. I'm hoping. I think that's what happened. I think I pieced all that together. All right, let's go ahead and move on to which I think, like I said, these last couple games I'm only talking about, I think are going to be some of the better games of this Sunday slate. So watch out. We have Bills, Chiefs in that late afternoon slot, which I do enjoy this one. Regular season matchup with these two. Now, look, some of y'all might raise your eyebrows about who I'm going to pick. But like I stated already, regular season and postseason, two different types of seasons, right? So the reason why I say it is because I think the Bills can find a way to come into Kansas City and win this game in the regular season. But when it's postseason time, and if either vice versa, either Kansas City is in Kansas City or if they're in Buffalo, I'm rocking with Kansas City because they just have the lineage, they have the experience, they know what to do, they know how to not clam up like the Bills have done for decades now. But when it comes to the regular season, you're going out there playing willy-nilly. Josh Allen gonna go out there and throw 4 touchdowns, maybe 1 interception, throw for 300 yards, run for another 100 yards, and he's gonna have a hell of a game. Then all of a sudden, sports media blogs gonna pick it back up and see, I told you, Josh Allen, he's that guy. They're gonna talk about it on Get Up. Greeny's gonna talk about, see, I told you, y'all were unfairly criticizing Josh Allen. How dare y'all hate on Josh Allen and his talents and this, that, and the third. And then we'll get into the divisional playoffs, and he'll play against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he'll lay an egg once again. And we'll circle back on this regular season matchup because, like I've stated always, once again, regular season don't mean a damn thing if you ain't out there pulling the success from the regular season, bringing that into the postseason. Similar to the in-season tournament game in the NBA, that little silly ass cup don't mean a goddamn thing if you ain't out there winning the NBA championship at the end of the year. So again, I think Bills take care of business in Kansas City. Somebody let me know if Taylor Swift is going to be there or not. I think Travis Kelce, again, depending on if she's there or not. If she's there, has a big game. If she's not, then, well, you've seen the numbers, right? So you've seen the numbers. So hopefully the Swifties are out in full effect for Travis Kelce. Let's go ahead and move on to the Broncos and the Chargers, the other AFC West divisional game. The Chargers are a 2.5-point favorite at home, but I think the Broncos find a way to upset the Chargers at home. Again, I'm surprised that the Chargers are actually the favorite for this game. And actually, my apologies. This line actually just went up. Instead of 2.5, I'm just now looking at it. It is now a 3-point favorite, and I wonder why the bump from 2.5. And this was just 30 minutes ago, 40 about an hour ago. My apologies. When I set all this up, it was just 2.5. Now it went up to 1.5. And actually, this Kansas City game as well went from 1 to 1.5. So again, I don't know what's up with these lines. I don't know why they're changing, but they are changing right in front of my eyes as well. And San Francisco just went up from 13.5 to 14. So we're getting some bumps, guys. We're getting some bumps. I don't know what's going on with the lines at the moment, but some of these games are getting bumped. And with that being said, I'm still going to take the Broncos. I'm still going to take the Broncos. Like, the Broncos are playing as they need to be, trending upwards in the right time. You have 2 veteran guys, Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, in a position where when it's time to lead, when it's time to have that experience to lead, they have that. Most people that are not Charger fans, and shit, maybe Charger fans as well, will agree with me when I say this. A lot of us are just waiting for Brandon Staley to leave. Okay, I can't really assess this Chargers team until Brandon Staley is not the head coach anymore. Like, I just don't care for Brandon Staley and the way that he's coaching this team. And until they move on from Brandon Staley, the Chargers will be stuck in mediocrity and will have all the talent in the world, but will never get over the hump. And it ain't just Brandon Staley. It's the Chargers team as a whole in the past. They are just, I don't know what it is with the Chargers organization. The year where they were number 1 in scoring, number 1 in defense, number one in turnovers. They still found a way to lose a playoff game. I mean, it's baffling how great of players that have come through this Chargers organization, but for them to not have at least one ring to show for it. It's kind of like the Buffalo Bills, right? I mean, that's another organization. Great players. Went to the Super Bowl 4 times in the 90s straight, four straight trips to the Super Bowl in the 90s. Came up with zero, nada. Like it's very mind blowing when you think about it. Let's get to the comment section right quick. My boy Coach T says, like I said a couple weeks ago, Bills could miss the playoffs. He did say that. He did say that on this show. If you want to go back and go revisit that comment from Coach T, he ain't lying. He ain't lying. One thing Coach T is not going to do to you. He's not going to lie. He's going to tell you the truth. Also, he asked, will Brandon Staley survive another week? Coach T, that man should have been gone since last year. Like I said on this show last season when they lost to the damn Jacksonville Jaguars, the Chargers should have left his ass in Jacksonville when they lost against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is it. That is all. All right, let's wrap it up tonight with the Sunday Night Football game for tonight. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, because that's what we do here. Cowboys are playing well. And if you are somebody that don't believe that what the Cowboys are doing right now should cause a little concern for the opposing team, then you're not being realistic with yourself. But once again, when it comes to the Cowboys, just like the Chargers, just like the Bills, just like I said, a couple of these teams in the league, you look good in the regular season, but once you get to the postseason, I don't know. Depending on the matchup you have to go up against, you might not fare too well against that matchup, right? So I'm looking at this matchup the same way I looked at the 49ers and Eagles last week. And I'm not saying the same teams. I'm looking at who's playing at home. The Eagles, I feel as though can beat the Cowboys because it's already been done. Like it's not like the Eagles can't beat the Cowboys. Like that's not something that's unheard of. I'm looking at, because the Cowboys are at home, you got some home cooking. Cowboys have been playing well. They've scored 40 points in the last 4 out of 6 games. Again, playing really well, taking care of business, beating teams that you're supposed to do. These are check boxes that they are checking off when it comes to being a Super Bowl caliber team. I think because the Cowboys will be at home, they will find a way to win this game. And Micah Parsons will be the first one to go on his podcast and tell everybody, see, I told you so, right? I see it going on right now. You'll have all the nation's sports talk shows on Monday talking about the Cowboys are this, the Cowboys are that, right? It's week 14, everybody. Week 14, okay? We'll see how this all plays out later on once this regular season is over with and we get to the postseason, because this game right here could be the reason why the Eagles get back to a Super Bowl. It could be the reason why the Cowboys get to a Super Bowl since 95. I think this game is that important to where this could be the game that motivates both of these teams. I think if the Eagles win this game, I think it helps the Cowboys with motivation moving on. And I think vice versa. I think, sometimes it's good for teams to lose. And I know that sounds crazy. Everybody thinks, oh, you're supposed to go undefeated. You don't want to lose a game. In the regular season, because of the NFL is not college football, you obviously can lose some games. So when you lose these games, you use these games as learning experiences once you get into the postseason. And I think for the Eagles, they have been battle tested for years now to be able to navigate themselves in treacherous opportunities in the postseason. I think for the Cowboys, if they lose this game, this is a great opportunity to learn from this. But I think the Cowboys do win this game. And depending on how they're finishing out the rest of the season, we might have to take them seriously when it comes to getting to the NFC Conference Championship game because of how talented they are. Now, Trayvon Diggs, that's a significant loss. We'll see how that all plays out. Coach T says the Eagles will show rather, or if they're contenders or pretenders. Coach T, I got you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think they've always been contenders. I don't you don't get to this point in the season 10-2, right? 10-2 right now, being pretenders. These are not the Arizona Cardinals, the Tennessee Titans a couple years ago when they were the number one seed and nobody believed in them. Jacksonville Jaguars, this is not a team where you have to, I don't know, we don't know if we can trust them. The Eagles have earned that right so far to where we trust them until you give us a reason why we can't trust you anymore. So it's the Cowboys' turn at this point in the NFL season to give us the reason to trust y'all. Go put up a 40-piece against the Eagles. Go take care of business at home. Go do what you need to do, and then we can look at both of these teams a little bit differently now. Coach T is going to be the hardest critic because he's a coach. That's what he do. Coach T always going to criticize his own because he wants to make sure he gets the best out of his own. I'm not mad at what you're saying. The Eagles probably are a little flawed. They probably aren't what they once were. But guess what? They still got leaders. They got leaders in that clubhouse. They don't need Nick Sirianni. No disrespect. They don't need Nick Sirianni to hype them up with a speech and get the rah-rah going, this, that, and third. They got plenty of leaders within that whole locker room to where they grown, man. They can bring it together. They'll figure it out. So if I'm being honest with you, that's why I'm just not worried too much about the Eagles. Coach T says he don't trust the secondary. Again, understandable. I got that. Let's see how it all plays out. We'll go from there, and we'll see how everything looks about another month from now. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up with, if I was a betting man, you already know where to find me. If you are on Prize Picks, promo code is PR-JVA61PN. And as always, if you use promo code, you will get $25 free on Prize Picks. I also am on, my apologies, I almost forgot the name of it. I'm on Chalkboard using that application now. Unfortunately, no promo code at the moment for that, but I did use Chalkboard and also Prize Picks to come up with these 4 names that you'll see at the moment. I have Travis Etienne Jr., like I spoke about earlier in that Browns game. I expect him to be toting the ball a little bit more in that Browns game to help out with the pressure for Trevor Lawrence. I have him over 60.5 rushing yards. I have Zach Wilson under 12.5 rushing yards because I really don't expect him to be running the ball too often. I have him going under 20.5 rushing yards. Justin Fields, like I said, depending on how that weather is, don't be surprised at all if he's running the ball and the running backs running the ball a lot more often than they are throwing the ball. So look out for that under 27.5 passing attempts. And as well, Patrick Mahomes, 273.5 passing yards. That line is very, very high for him. He's only averaging about 235, 240 a game this year. I expect this Bills game to be back and forth, but the way that Patrick Mahomes receivers have been this season, that's the reason why I'm taking the under, because when you need a big play, will somebody on that team make it? We'll have to see, and who knows? Knowing my luck with betting, this will be the game where he goes off for 350 and whatnot. But the receivers, they got to catch the ball first before you can even put up an absurd stat line. So we'll see how it all plays out. As always, see y'all on Tuesday night to recap Week 14 in the NFL season. Thank y'all as always for tuning in to XTalknIsh.